Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 60 today for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one at Baku, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That was, well, as always on this game, Baku is always a bit of a madness. We had 3 safety cars and quite a couple of DNFs, and it was quite a insane last lap, last couple of corners really, with about 5-6 cars all separated by millimeters as they crossed the finish line, and our teammate Carlos Sainz was able to pretty much smash and grab, steal a race win away from myself or Lando Norris. He was third place entering the last 2-3 corners and ended up being P1 across the line in what was a roller coaster race at Baku, and it was a torrid time for Red Bull with a double DNF for Albon and Tsunoda, and also the Audi Sport Works team quietly under that last safety car. They actually also had their own issues and mechanical failures and DNF'd as well. So all round quite hectic. You know, we had Gasly down the order, having started higher than his teammate Lando Norris, who was at the back of the grid and ended up being there on the podium with me. So yeah, it all really did kick off at Baku, and it's probably going to kick off again here at Monaco, because Monaco is another street circuit where, you know, the walls are so close that there's bound to be a bit of chaos there, and with the cars getting quicker and quicker as well, that's always an issue. But in terms of speaking about the cars getting quicker and upgrades, we purchased another aerodynamic upgrade for the DRS, that was, because we already had the other one. We purchased the second and final DRS upgrade, because I think those are underrated upgrades. They really do help you in race conditions. And then going for upgrades on the engine for the engine power and the fuel. So once that engine power upgrade comes in, we'll have a maxed out engine in terms of pure engine power. Still got a few upgrades to go on the ERS and the fuel, but in terms of pure engine power, once that comes in, we'll have the best engine we're ever going to get on this game, basically. And you may have noticed, quite shock horror, went for some reliability upgrades that I actually had for free because of all the discounts we've had from the you know, the practice program little benefits. So going into this race weekend then, I was gobsmacked at the continued progress of Repsol Haas, who are now all of a sudden the 4th best team on the grid on paper. They've just edged ahead of the Mercedes team, and it's a far cry from where they were at Bahrain. You know, you can see that steady progress from from Bahrain to Portimao to Baku to now. It's unbelievable. So Repsol Haas, they're going to be loving life. And I actually noticed when I was doing my aero upgrades, Repsol Haas now have the best aero on the grid. So here at Monaco, where aero matters so much, this could be an absolute banger race for them. For us, we just keep ahead of McLaren, both of us with small minor upgrades to try and bridge the gap to Red Bull, who still hold that top spot this entire time, and Ferrari have dipped lower than Andretti now towards the bottom of the grid. So tough times for some teams and some maybe great times for others in this upcoming Monaco GP weekend, but there's going to be a spanner in the works of all of that, because there is rain, quite a lot of it in fact, on this Saturday here in Monaco, the most crucial qualifying session of the entire season, and it's heavy rain in comparison to what is going to be a dry race. So a little bit frustrating. I mean, to be fair, at Monaco, I always run max downforce, dry or wet, so it's not going to affect the setup. It just affects, you know, teetering around, tiptoeing around, I would say, around this circuit, trying to get in the groove. That's what you do anyway in the dry, let alone in the wet, because then it's even more skatey and a bit more frightening on the throttle and in the brakes as well, and just visibility going to some of these corners. The car can twitch even more so mid-corner, and so this is our 2nd consecutive lap, and you can see immediately that confidence is building to the point where, you know, we're gaining 2 seconds on that first lap. That's how tentative my first flying lap was. Can you really even call it a flying lap if it was 2 to 3 seconds down on the second one? But nonetheless, that first lap gives us that confidence to do a much better one on the second, so it's kind of crucial to do a run like that to kind of feel out the circuit. And we're going to come through for a significant improvement. Purple second sector at the moment as the session stands, and we go and split the 2 McLarens Gasly top, Norris third. By the end of the session, Albon will come in and show that Red Bull stuffs some pace. But, you know, in these kind of conditions, you're seeing the class and the experience from some drivers. You know, the Audi Sport Works team of Vettel and Bottas, you know, they're lower than Repsol Haas now in the R&D chart. They're lower than Renault. And yet, because their drivers have that experience, have that, you know, rating, they're able to pull themselves up. And Repsol Haas just about making it through. That's a little bit disappointing for them. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the wet weather is masking their potential. Because, of course, yes, they do have the max aero, the best aero on the grid. But their drivers are Drogovic and Schwartzman, and with the best will in the world, even though Drogovic was my former teammate from Season 1, they're both F2 drivers from in the game, and they're so low rated at the start of the game that even after 4 seasons, they're still not quite up to the scratch and the same rating as, you know, the likes of Vettel, Bottas, etc. So maybe that's going to be the annoying killer for Haas. Not just this episode, but, you know, into the season. They carry on being a top 4 team or more, you know, because they've got 2 F2 drivers in their seats. Will they be able to capitalise on it? We'll have to see. But Q2 then is a formality for us, it seems. That's showing pretty good pace in the wet, actually. Second place behind Albon, ahead of Russell. Drogovic does make it through into Q3, so you maybe heard me. Schwartzman, unfortunately, P14 there. And unfortunately, we've also got some big hitter names. Vettel, Verstappen, Leclerc out of there. So Bottas gets the best of Sebastian Vettel, the reigning champ, remember, into this season. Perez does it. It's a stonking job to get his Renault up to P4, and whilst Verstappen's down there in P12, then Leclerc, race winner at Portimao, knocked out in his home race P11, whilst Russell gets through, and then the 2 McLarens feature, and of course the 2 Red Bulls with Tsunoda just scraping by in the midst of that Drogovic and Bottas collection. Of course, Sainz makes it through into P7, so looks like Sainz is well and truly maybe put behind the struggles from Portimao previously, and we saw that obviously clearly at Baku, doing very, very well. For us, not doing very, very well in Q3. Immediately off the 5 red lights, when I did a flying lap procedure, just the car rear end stepped out completely without any kind of prior warning. Maybe it was a bit too eager on the throttle, I don't know, but we kept out of the wall. We did well there, actually, because we were millimetres away, so we can actually continue on and not have an absolute embarrassing calamity at the start of the top 10 shootout by just DNFing straight away out of it. And, you know, we've shown good pace to be in the top 3 or 4, but you can see as we got opposite lot through turn 1, maybe the circuit's just got even worse, potentially, or I don't know, maybe it didn't warm up my tyres enough with that flying lap procedure. I'm not sure, but a bit skatey around there. Let's see what we can do. Lando Norris putting in the purple lap time so far. We go P4 behind our teammate and behind Drogovic in the Haas, who's turned up here at the right time where it matters in the top 10 shootout. We're down to P7 now on our second flying lap, but we've had a much better first sector. You know, up by half a second to 6/10 to 7/10. We're just gaining time everywhere, it would seem, here on this second flyer, as now we've got new guys coming in. The track's getting quicker and quicker as we lose the back end, though, for the second time in this session. It was going so well, 7 to 8 tenths up, and we still had a whole sector to go. But in a place where, you know, there's no water, but that's, you know, you just take a slightly left-hand side higher line through that little dip in the tunnel, and the rear end can step out. On my previous flying lap, I was full throttle through there, no problem. Second time round, an issue. You just can't. That's a bit of RNG, I feel, in terms of the throttle and the grip. I don't know, but that's upsetting. I think we could have at least aimed for minimum second row, but it's going to be P10 in the end. It's a McLaren lockout. Norris and Gasly. Then you've got Albon, Russell, Bottas, Sainz. Drogovic does very well to be in P7 in the newly upgraded Haas, Tsunoda, Perez, and myself. So we've got a lot of work to do. McLaren are going to be trying to capitalise on that one too, and this is the best place to do it. Let's go to the grid for Monaco.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino that first opened in 1863. And of course, a certain road race first held in 1929. There's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than inches from the race-ending barriers. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Pierre Gasly in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Bottas, Felipe Drugovich, and Tsunoda. Albon, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Perez, the owner driver, and Charles Leclerc. Sainz, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, and Schwartzman. Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Mick Schumacher, and Liam Lawson. Ocon, Magnussen, Théo Pourchaire, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
It's a very difficult race around here. We know that from previous seasons in this game. It's even more challenging, I would say, on this game now to overtake the AI. You know, every year as the AI get better and a bit more realistic of defending, you know, being more aggressive, it makes this race even harder then to actually do some good work. And it's going to be difficult this season, no different really. It's going to be a one-stop from either mediums to hards. Some people choosing hards to go on to mediums, I guess, or maybe even soft tyres. They're going to be a bit of a nuisance for us guys on the mediums because they're going to be very slow in this first phase of the Grand Prix, so crucial to get past people on hard tyres. And we've also got to, you know, get past a lot more cars than we would wanted to off the back of Saturday after that spin. So yeah, all round, a lot of work to do. This race always still feels very special indeed because it's Monaco. It's the jewel in the Formula 1 calendar, and we're going to 5 red lights, and we are underway. It's a good getaway versus Sergio Perez. He'll come across us a little bit, but we stay firm and committed to the inside to get the dive on not only him, but Alexander Albon. We're up into P7. That was very, very solid. 2 overtakes into turn 1. I think Gasly has jumped Lando Norris into P1. So quite a few little moves going on at the very start. Obviously the opening lap, the best place to make a move. And so we're going to continue with that trend as we dive down the inside of Mirabeau to get up into P6. Drugovich did so well in quali, but I want to try and get up where I think the car should be. We're now side by side with Tsunoda. We're really going for it. This is such an aggressive lap 1 attack at Monaco. We get Tsunoda wide, and that actually invites the Haas to get up, so Drugovich can thank me there, and he's actually now going to go for a re-overtake as he goes through on the outside. Actually finds some insane speed through the tunnel there, Drugovich did, and some confidence as well, and he's back up into P5. So I try to ruin his party a little bit, but he actually is adamant that he's going to try and celebrate the newfound speed at Haas and gets back into the top 5. But we did get the move done at least on Tsunoda and getting both Red Bulls behind us. But like I said, yeah, Gasly leads then this 1-2 for McLaren, but great stuff from the Frenchman to jump the pole sitter. Bottas quietly in P3 did a great job in quali, great job at the start of the race there for the Audi Sport Works team. Russell P4, Drugovich P5, and you can see very much so I'm there right up his gearbox in P6, looking of when we can make this move. But it's really more so Russell being the bottleneck on the hard compounded tyres, and he goes a little bit deep there and a bit squirrely on the front end, and that may just invite Drugovich to go for a move. And I forgot to actually say there's an added DRS zone through the into tunnel now in Season 4, and that's going to be to the aid of the Repsol Haas as the Brazilian gets up into P4. Our old teammate from Season 1. Kind of nice to see him up here doing quite well now in this season of the F1 universe we've created here on this game, because he's up into P4 and looking pretty damn decent, as now we try and make that infamous Rasgas dive bomb to get up into P5, crucially getting past the last hard tyre runner. The rest of us in the top 5 all on medium, so now I have no excuse in terms of my pace. It's now trying to see if we can keep up with Drogovic and actually go and overtake him. Is now on lap 10. Getting later on into the first stint of this race, Schumacher having an off into the barrier, probably just a lock-up on the front left tyre, and I think that has called out the safety car. So will anyone come in? Because it is a bit early, even for those of us on the medium compound tyre. It's quite early, because I think we're pitting around lap 18. For the hard tyres, so we've got 8 laps to go, so don't think it's, well, in my opinion, worth it to pit, because you're kind of losing that performance from the medium. Albon does think it is right to pit. Oh no, he's got damage. Okay, that's why Albon has damage. Maybe he was trying to overtake Tsunoda because he was behind him, so maybe the teammates collided a little bit there, so he's got a front wing change and is forced into a pit stop onto the hard tyres, and will be at the back of the grid now as we get going again. Lap 12 onto 13 in P5, fast up the Grand Prix, but we've still got a Haas ahead of us that we're unable to overtake. You know, surprised at the straight line speed it showed, but to be fair, being the top of the aero on R&D doesn't just mean out-and-out downforce. It means that Haas has got probably the maximum drag reduction potentially as well, so no surprise maybe why it's good in a straight line. And like I said, that extra DRS zone through the tunnel aiding overtaking for this season around Monaco. We're yet to use it and see its benefit, but this man has. But let's try and see. We're coming up to that section now. Can we make a move though before that tunnel section at Mirabeau? Ooh, thought about it, but just pull back in. First gear through here, trying to get the nose in. We even have a look around the outside, because I remember last season we actually pulled off an overtake around the outside of the hairpin, I think it was. So very tempted there, but instead just going to try and get a launch, and you can see that DRS activating on the heads-up display, and unfortunately losing a bit of time though to Drogovic through that section. Looking behind, just seeing where Russell is. He's actually keeping up with us somewhat on the hard tyre, but we are outside the 1 second. And now, lap 17, we're practically pushing the Brazilian through these corners now. Surely we get this move done at some point as he locks up. That's the invite. Can we make a move? No. Frustration again. Round the outside of the hairpin. Oh, bit of contact, but nothing comes of it. This is the true Monaco GP. This is getting a bit frustrating, but we're right up his gearbox. We are literally pushing him through that right-hander. DRS open, ERS, we've got to go for this. The dive bomb down the inside out the tunnel, banging tyres. Drogovic cuts the curb, gets across us, and swipes across for P4 again. And unfortunately, I lose the rear end. Russell now has a go at me. That's how much that fight cost us, both, because Russell's now caught back up to us, but oh, that's frustrating. I thought we had it, but Drogovic kind of went over the curb, and kind of like Baku when Lando overtook me, cutting the curb. The FI see nothing wrong with that, but to be fair, I've had my fair share of, you know, good luck with that kind of thing. So we'll you know, accept it, and we'll just move on, trying to regain this 1.5 seconds on Drogovic. Yellow flags, though, on the circuit and up the hill. Norris down to P3. Has Lando Norris got a problem? Yes, he does. The McLaren goes slow. There's an absolute smoke screen in front of me. The McLaren almost brake checks me. What on earth is he doing? One of our title rivals. That could have been a bit controversial. Can you imagine if we slammed into the back of him and crashed out of the race whilst he was retiring? But it's a massive engine failure. I've never seen so much smoke come out of an AI car when they have an engine failure. Literally, visibility was 0 at one point through that casino square, but that is insane. So one of our title rivals, the early contenders for the title, is out at Monaco, and it leaves Gasly alone now, sole driver for McLaren, as now we're getting some pit stops. Drogovic is in, Bottas came in, Gasly will be in on this lap, as well as our teammate Sainz. That's why we didn't come in on this lap 20. But to be honest, I'm starting to think about a bit of a bold strategy, but going long enough to come onto the soft compound tyre, because the mediums don't feel too bad. Yes, we'll lose some time going longer on the mediums, but we'll regain it back with a fresh soft tyre. Because remember, they're all fresh because we had a wet quali. So that's my new game plan as we see Gasly looking to close up on Leclerc, but he's got off. What's happening? Oh no! It's an absolute disaster for McLaren. Red Bull had a double DNF at Baku, and now it's McLaren Mercedes' turn. It's a double DNF for the British outfit. Lando Norris out with an engine failure. Gasly out with some kind of mechanical issue. I thought he was just, maybe going a bit wide trying to chase after the Mercedes car that was yet to pit. Both Leclerc and Russell yet to pit in this race. Russell now has pit. Leclerc still has to off those hards, and I have to off these mediums on lap 22. But that has blown this race wide open for this man, Albon. Out of all people, remember, he pit under the safety car with front wing damage, and ironically, he may now get into the lead of this race because there he is in second place now because Leclerc pit. So Albon is going to be your race leader as I come in now on lap 24 for the soft compound tyre. So it'll be Albon from Bottas to Drugovich. Schwartzman's up there, the other Haas. And then Russell's P6. So where am I going to slot into that? On the soft compound, though, versus everyone else, either on hards or medium. So I'm pretty... And they're fresh softs, remember. So I am confident about this strategy of at least getting back to, where we were fighting with Drugovich, basically. We're going to come out behind Russell in P6. He just set the fast lap of the Grand Prix on medium tyres, showing you there is lap time there on fresh softer compound. So let's try and emulate that and try and set some purples of our own, but obviously we'll be going even quicker on the softs, and you're going to really see the difference in traction through this right-hander, how much we gain on Russell mid-corner. Both our DRS is open as Schwartzman ahead gives him the drag reduction system, but we're going to still make a pounce. Or not. I thought about it. I was very tempted, but you know what? In hindsight, looking back at this, that was a good decision for me. That would have ended very, very badly. So instead, we'll be patient with Russell here, knowing that we have enough laps here, I feel, to still do this and get up to at least minimum where Drugovich is. But look at the minimap as we overtake Russell now very easily in the end, round down the inside of Mirabeau. Look at the minimap. Look at the distance from Drugovich to Bottas and then Albon. I think we could maybe even be going for the race win here, That would be insane with both McLarens out. That would be a massive thing for us in the title race versus Lando Norris, who's the closest man to me in the standings, as we now send it down the inside of Schwartzman in the Repsol Haas, and we are up into a P4 position. That was a very satisfying move, especially because we failed to finish off a move like that on his teammate Drugovich earlier. And speaking of, now we'll try and chase after him as there's a bit of a gap of clean air, and that'll allow me just to use these soft tyres to good effect. But I'm trying my best to find a balance of pushing, but also not trying to go too berserk on the throttle into the turn in these corners. You can see here, keeping it in fourth gear, then down to third, just trying to be easy with how I'm moving the car about, just to try and eke out the softs a bit more. But Drugovich is becoming an absolute mobile chicane here on these hard tyres. We have a look around the outside to the inside of every corner, basically, and once again, we may find ourselves pushing him through that right-hander. We do, and again, we'll have DRS on him through this tunnel. It didn't work out for us last time. This time, we're on the other side of the circuit, on the outside. It'll turn to the inside, though, to be fair, so that might work. Bit of contact made. Felipe squeezes us through the right-hander, and he maintains P3. I can't get past this. I can't get past our Season 1 teammate. Remember, he did some stunning work, actually. Remember, with that podium at Spa that I helped him out. And this is, to be fair, in many ways, kind of awesome to see one of our first teammates, the F2 teammate, usually doesn't, get up the order that much in these careers through the seasons gone by. But great to see. But in the end, I do have too much pace for him. The soft compound allows me to just dive from so far back at turn 1. And we get up into P3. We do ruin the party, but still, Haas are going to be so happy about this. They're P4 and 5 right now. This is insane for them as we now close up to Bottas. Albon just down the road. The race win's on. The race win is on at Monaco. We've already had technically a win of sorts this season with the sprint win at Brazil, but the full fat Grand Prix win still evades us. Can we get it today? We need to get past Bottas, ideally on this lap, and then we've got enough laps maybe to try and chase after Albon whilst the tyre wear kicks in a little bit. DRS open through the tunnel. We're going to go for the dive. This is going to be close. Narrowly missing, making contact with Bottas. He cuts the curb and maintains P2. And annoyingly, we can't finish off the move. It's going to have to go again. Lap 36. This time we go for an outswinger and down the inside at Casino Square. Very unconventional spot to make an overtake, but sometimes it has to be like that at Monaco to actually make the overtake work. And we're up into P2 now, 2.8 seconds, 2.9 ahead of this man Albon, who clearly has some decent speed on the hards, but I need to try and push because I can see the win up the road. I can see it.
There appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
Oh, do not tell me that. No, Mark, absolutely not. Do not tell me my engine is about to have a failure as we get a little bit crossed up on the curb there in first gear. Please just let this be some other kind of fuel issue. We've had a few of them this season with the ERS issues as well before.
Looks like we're experiencing an ERS software glitch.
No! Oh, no! We spun it! The ERS is stuck on overtake on deployment mode, and it's spun up the rear tyres, and now we're blocking the circuit. I couldn't spin the car around completely without breaking my front wing, so in order to keep my car intact, I had to block the circuit a bit as I did a 3-point turn, harking back to my driving lessons, and in the end of it, oh no! Oh, Drogovic makes some contact with us. And he has to make a pit stop. He's come in. That's so gutting for him. I didn't mean to do that. We continue the race in P3, but the ERS is still deploying. And the rear end just goes round again. Oh, it's a big crash with Tsunoda and Carlos Sainz, a teammate. And there's now a pile-up forming at Monaco. Oh, it's absolute chaos. We're reversing up Sector 1 to try and flick spin this round. But there's about 7-8 cars involved there. And Drogovic, ironically, makes a pit stop and comes out in P5 because everyone's piled up at turn 1. Unbelievable. P22 to P15, 14, 12, 10 maybe. DNFing potentially because I know Vettel and Magnussen were caught up in that, and we've got 3 people disqualified. Perez disqualified, Magnussen disqualified, I think our teammate even got disqualified as Drogovic on much fresher soft tyres overtakes me because obviously my tyres were going off anyway, as you can clearly see, but this is the replay of everything that happened. So the ERS glitch, that just delivered way too much torque into the rear tyre, and it happened midway through the left-hander where I had no chance to feather the throttle to compensate for that. Then you can see here I struggled to actually spin the car around, had to do a three-point turn. That meant the Mercedes car of Russell, I believe, lost his rear front wing. That's unfortunate. Drogovic at this point has come in as well and is changing his front wing. Ironically, though, he's going to come back through to get back to the top 5 because here now through turn 1, the car just went. There's too much torque going through the rear tyre. And remember, whilst my soft tyres are worn out, then I reverse back. This was probably a very weird sight for this man, Schwartzman, who saw me just reversing because I saw no other way to spin myself round because Schwartzman was too close to me. So I had to reverse, and I thought, okay, I can see a pile-up happening, and you can see how absurd that pile-up was. This is maybe perhaps the stupidest pile-up I've ever seen on F1 22. They all just keep on coming. And then this man just finesses everyone and comes through. Go on, Drogovic. Finesses everyone. But look at that. It's like a F1 centipede situation. And I didn't expect to be reversing up the hill at Monaco and seeing, well, only 8 finishes as Albon comes across the line to win the Monaco Grand Prix. Tsunoda was right behind him. It wasn't a 1-2 though. He's been lapped. Bottas P2. Schwartzman and Drogovic for Repsol Haas. P3 and 4. What a result for the Haas team as we just about defend from Russell, who's on fresh rubber because of that pit stop just before that pile-up situation. But we're just going to make our car as wide as possible to come through for P5. But up until the last couple of laps, it was quite a mundane Monaco Grand Prix. Bit of action for us with overtaking on softs. But then it all just blew up with that ERS issue we had. And in the end, we've had a Monaco Grand Prix with only 8 finishes. The rate of attrition this Grand Prix was insane. What a mad Monaco Grand Prix. I'm actually just lucky to still be in the points in P5, considering what just happened. I'll take it. Albon wins. Oh.
That's it then for another nail-biting Monaco Grand Prix. We were on the edge of our seats the whole time, but they've come through to take a stunning victory. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Taking care of the car was absolutely vital today. It's been obvious all weekend that the pace was there, but look at the attrition rate we've had. They would have been very concerned about any minor anomaly towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
It's a pretty big, important win for Albon to come back, especially after the Red Bull double DNF and, crucially, the flip, basically. Red Bull having double DNF, McLaren having it, so a bit of, balancing out, I guess, from the F1 gods. But McLaren's one was unfortunate because Red Bull, remember, theirs involved crashing. McLaren had a double mechanical issue, engine failure, mechanical issue. That's concerning for them. They're going to have to work on their reliability, very much so. But a big day for that man on the right. Schwartzman gets his first ever podium in Formula 1, and Haas get a 3-4 in a race where only 8 people finished. That is absurd. Piastri and Lawson get points despite not even, properly finishing because they were lapped so much that they couldn't be classified properly on the heads-up display. So 8 finishes as we finished our final lap there. Albon, Bottas, Schwartzman. Madness. Absolute madness. But because Lando was at this Grand Prix, and of course he was the nearest person to me in the championship, it means after all of that, I gain a considerable amount on others, apart from Albon, because obviously he got the win. So it's now myself and Albon in 1 and 2. 6 points between us, and then a bit of a 10-point gap to Lando Norris. So that's quite actually nice to have at this point of the season. Just need to try and work on building a gap to Albon to feel even comfier. But we lose P1 to Red Bull, who had a pretty strong day with Sainz being caught up, unfortunately, in that DNF pile-up. And Repsol Haas climb up to 6th. Ahead of Ferrari and Renault. That's massive, and with the pace they showed today, they're going to be looking at even higher. Mercedes, McLaren, Audi, who knows? Who knows how high they're going to be looking, but what an insane... I thought Baku was crazy. This just topped it somehow. If you guys did enjoy it, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.